Welcome to the end of democracy. We're here to overthrow it completely. We didn't get all the way there on January 6th, but we will endeavor to get rid of it and replace it with this right here. We'll replace it with this right here.
Amen.
That's right, because all glory is not to government, all glory to God.
During a War Room special event at CPAC yesterday, far-right troll Jack Posobiec said that he wanted to finish what got started on January 6th. It's hard to make out what was in his hand, and that was a crucifix, but he was holding that when he said he wanted to replace democracy with this. And since these remarks, Posobiec has been getting a lot of criticism, understandably, and he responded by making troll posts on X like these. Emergency press release, my plan to end democracy, end paper ballots, remove all voter ID, replace in-person voting with low integrity options, place state assets in all media, censor social media, lock up protesters, arrest the opposition leader 4 times. Because the joke here is that Democrats did all of this. He also posted about Joy Ann Reid, who covered him on her show last night. Joy Ann Reid losing it about me last night. I'm sorry, Joy. Don't go blowing your top over it. By the way, please make sure to change your smoke detector batteries. The chirp doesn't mean it's working. Stay safe. Whether or not Posobiec was trying to bait a response or not, it's impossible not to ignore the rising authoritarianism in the Republican Party, especially when its leader, Donald Trump, is making remarks like these.
We pledge to you that we will root out the communists, Marxists, fascists, and the radical left thugs that live like vermin within the confines of our country. They have done something that allows the next party. I mean, if I happen to be president and I see somebody who's doing well and beating me very badly, I say, go down and indict them. Mostly what that would be, they would be out of business. They'd be out of the election.
We've got more, but before we get to it, I want to hear what both of you think about this. This is just really alarming stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we have the guillotine coming up because apparently they're gonna, thinking about executions, political executions. Wow, and then they wonder why we get all exercise. So it actually goes to the point of what I want to say about Posobiec. We might have millions of people watching this show, but you can be the difference maker because we just need 1% of our audience to be paid members, and then this show can be around forever. So you can make that difference. Click join now. First, I get that about January 6th and ending democracy, he's trolling, he's joking. But then when he switched over to talking about the cross, he was no longer joking, right? And it was clear, and he said, well, what? And he made a serious point about, you don't do all glory to government, you do all glories to God. And then people are like, amen, etc. That part was not at all joking. And so why do they do that? Why do they say incredibly outrageous things? Well, I have a theory on first part's pretty indisputable, and then we'll could debate the rest of it. First part is to get attention, right? It's not complicated, and they know that people are going to run that.
Exactly.
But then it's the second part is plausible deniability. So they say, well, I was just trolling. I was just, you guys didn't get the joke. So I can say, hey, I'd like to murder you. I'd like to end democracy. I'd like to replace it with theocracy. I'd like to turn the country into American Taliban. Just kidding. Wink, 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 wink. But wait, are you kidding? Because a lot of people that support you do want Christianity to rule over us. They would prefer a government run by quote unquote God and the cross. And in fact, there's a bunch of them that are advising Donald Trump now and worked in his first administration. So is it a joke or is it not a joke? And January 6th to end democracy, but you did actually do that. You did attack the Capitol. You did support a fake elector plan that would be a coup. So where's the joke? So it's plausible deniability. Say the thing you want to do and then pretend you're trolling. So when people say, really, you monsters? You go, yo, you can't get a joke, right? So, and then the third thing is, and this is the one that's more speculative, and I'm curious what you guys think. I think that they're saying it so they could say, well, it's not like we didn't warn you. If they win, they're gonna say, we told you we were gonna do these things. Well, part of it was unclear. We told you we'd rule by our vision of Christianity, which is a hateful, despotic vision of Christianity, not the kind one, not the one that Jesus believed in, etc. We told you we were gonna end democracy and you guys put us in. So we had a mandate to end democracy and to rule by the cross instead of secular government. Yeah. And then people will say, well, I thought you said you were joking or whatever. Oh no, don't be ridiculous. So plausible deniability now when they might get in trouble, but if they win, they can come back and go, oh yeah, we told you. And people voted for it, so they must have wanted it.
When I see Trump's comments in this clip, I take those seriously because we know that if he loses, he will deny that he loses the election, and he will definitely double down on some of the same horrific insurrectionist actions that he took on last time. I think that's pretty known by all of us. I also think that Trump, if he is victorious, which is a very horrifying thought, as needed, will go after his political opponents. However, I think Posobiec is a joke and a troll and a clown, and I've always thought of him that way. That does not mean that we should not take him seriously as a political actor, but I also think that trolls should be trolled. And I think that we should troll him back with the same type of power and energy that clearly the mainstream Democratic Party does not have, but we have it, and put him back in his shoes, have him cower a little bit. Say, well, if you do these things, we can do these things, kind of thing. Just to push. And I think the point that you're making is really important, that as we all know, inflammatory, heinous, hateful content, which Posobiec is a great example of as a professional troll, goes viral online. It's part of his strategy. But just like Trump, it is notable what you said, that the reference to Christianity was sort of a double reference combined with the initial troll, kind of hateful statement. And that's what Trump also did, right? He would kind of put dog meat to his base, right? And at the same time serve his corporate overlords and his corporate interests, and definitely his interest in things like supporting the genocidal actions of the state of Israel and all these things. It's absurd for people to think that Trump somehow would be better than anybody else. But the last thing, which is kind of the saddest thing of all to me, is this might be all that the Biden campaign has to work with. In a weird way, there's something dialectical about it, not to be too academic, but you know what I mean? It's like they kind of need one another because they don't have anything else. All Posobiec has is trolling and authoritarianism and evangelical, hateful versions of Christianity, and somehow this ability that they've had very well to manipulate the MAGA base, who are being conned. But what do we have? And what does the Biden campaign have? Oh, we're gonna bring back the soul of the country. Well, I don't know, what does that mean exactly right now? All they have, I've been looking over this. All they have in terms of a platform is this guy's a threat to democracy. It is true he's a threat to democracy, but their version is a continued oligarchy, And it's like, can't you come up with something better than that? So we progressives, I feel, have a responsibility to fight this back.
Right.
Yeah, now Charlie Kirk's gonna say something worse in a second, but just real quick to build off that. So you're absolutely right. They have a cycle of right wing says crazy stuff. The right wing likes that because their base likes it. And the Democrats like it because they think it's going to get them people to vote against them. So that message gets elevated up and gets a ton of media around it, right? Progressives say something, and conservatives don't like it because they're like, that's really popular. Don't let that out. It's a paid family leave. Oh, higher wages. Don't let that out. Don't let that out. And mainstream Democrats think the same exact thing. Don't let out the progressives. Otherwise, they'll overthrow us, the neoliberals that run the Democratic Party. So what does that do? It creates an incentive to never let the progressive message out. So that is why you hear in the news all the time nonstop right-wing insanity and never any sane economic populist progressive points that the country actually massively agrees with, but gets no airtime.
Yeah. I mean, Posobiec's whole game for the past several years has been to wink and nod, like you're saying, at some of these things. There was a while where he would just tweet out 1488 in various different forms. Oh, I'm joking. And then he pushed the Pizzagate thing, and as soon as that led to someone showing up with a gun, it's like, oh, I was just investigating. So he's a total coward, but what he said, he now works at Turning Point. But what he said in this clip isn't as bad as what Charlie Kirk said. Take a look at this.
As far as other death penalties, I think what some of those guys did to Donald Trump to use the instruments of government to destroy the constitutional order, that should be under consideration. And this is my other problem with death penalty. It takes too long, too many appeals. Expensive. It should be public It should be quick. It should be televised.
Square.
By the way, you could sell. You could fund
Force
the
kids
government
to watch it.
You could have like brought to you by Coca-Cola. And no, I'm not kidding. By the way, I would totally tune in to see some pedo get their head chopped off. Convicted by a jury.
By the way,
peers.
that's gonna get.
No, I'm talking about a real thing.
He's talking about making kids watch executions as if this would be better for them. I can't wrap my head around this reasoning or this argument.
He says, I would totally tune in to watch someone get their head cut off, sponsored by Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
I believe him completely. I believe that he would tune in for that and he would enjoy it. Then they had a long debate about at what age should they force the kids to watch public executions. 13, 16, spirited debate over that, as soon as possible. And by the way, and as you saw there at the end, I mean, he says pedo in the end of that small version of the clip. But earlier, as you saw, he was talking about political enemies. And then if they win, they're gonna say Charlie Kirk was one of the Trump family's biggest supporters, Donald Trump Jr. We had a story we did a couple of days ago when they were saying, oh, Charlie Kirk is on the outs with the Trumps. It was a story that Ronna McDaniel was trying to print, leak. And Donald Trump Jr. came out and was like, no, Charlie Kirk is one of our best friends and allies. So one of their top allies just told you they might execute people publicly that don't agree with them. And then now they'll say, well, I mean, didn't look like Posobiec bothers to say he was joking. It didn't look like Charlie Kirk was joking at all. And in fact, I watched the whole segment. They said many, many times that they are not joking. They kept emphasizing, we're not joking. So if Trump wins, they'll turn around and go, well, we told you, how many times did we have to tell you that we're gonna murder our political opponents? We said it on the air. You saw it with your own eyes. What part was complicated? What did you miss? So these guys are super dangerous. Yeah. They act like clowns, but like the Posobiec, one of the main guys who pushed Pizzagate, as we discussed earlier, and a guy came in with a gun. He could have killed half the people in that restaurant. Where's the joke?
Yeah,
they're super dangerous, and I think Ramesh made the best point. I think the Democrats are boosting these guys.
Yes.
And that's not a good idea. You're spreading that poison to more parts of the country without clearly identifying its poison.
These guys are grifting off of the nature of social media ecologies, a divided country, and a mainstream media that honestly monetizes also hateful content. Right, as we all remember, Trump was and is constantly being covered by the CNNs and MSNBCs and even other networks of the world. Yet at the same time, so they're grifters, they're self-serving. They may or may not believe what they say. They have the plausible deniability thing. But your point is so important, Cenk, and also your point, because actually making those sorts of statements actually enacts the possibility of those sorts of outcomes, right? And that's the problem. Is the rest of us. I really feel for my friends who are, MAGA supporters. I don't know that many, but I want to be friends with everybody, the utopias, all this. But it's like, they are getting conned. And so what if we were to respond to these fools and said, okay, we know you're lying and are liars, but everybody, how about paid family leave? That's what we'll do. But the DNC won't do that. The Biden campaign won't do that because basically, for the most part, Build Back Better notwithstanding, which we've talked about ad nauseum, they didn't and aren't enacting the types of policies that will move populism in their direction. And I don't know why. I mean, I guess it's corrupt. I do know why, actually. You've told me for years.
It's 100% corruption because, guys, look, last things. Tim Pool, Patrick Bet-David, they're both, in my opinion, right-wingers in the opinion of many people. And I went on their shows and we had conversations and I introduced the idea of paid family leave. And I told you this before, Patrick Bet-David, his audience, 75% said yes. Totally right-wing audience, love Trump. They get super mad at me when I criticize Trump. On Tim Pool's show, they get super mad at me when I criticize Kyle Rittenhouse. But you say, hey, time off for moms after they have a baby, that'll encourage people to have more kids, et cetera. They're like, where's the question? Of course we should do that, right? The only people who don't want to do it is the uniparty. So the corporate Democrats and the corporate Republicans. I mean, look, these are conversations you're not allowed to have on cable news and in mainstream media. But if you can't get a bill that's polls at 84% passed, I think it's very fair to conclude one of two things. You are either the world's worst politician, you just suck at this. You don't know anything. Like, oh golly gee, 84% of the country's on my side. How do I pass it? Or you're a liar and you never intended to pass those things and you work for your donors.
I think part of what's happened is the containment or the incarceration of categories, right? You're a Democrat or you're a Republican. What a false choice, right? What an absurd binary, right? But instead, say you just polled Americans, despite all the media manipulation, despite all the pain and suffering that a lot of us are going through, especially working people, right? Independent of skin pigmentation. And you just said, what do 70%, let's say 80% of you support? I honestly tell you, we don't need to use the word progressive. That would be a progressive agenda. And why can't we just get away from these containers that are actually stifling anything that's democratic? I mean, I guess I'm asking it rhetorically because we know you keep telling me the answer.
Yeah. And so, but last thing, guys, just because both sides have their huge problems that we point out, and we're fair and we constantly point out the problems of both sides, right? That doesn't mean, to Ramesh's point, that those are the only two sides that are available. No. That's just the fake options that they give you in Washington. There are other possibilities. And it also doesn't mean that those two sides are equal. As awful as the corporate Democrats are, they haven't yet said that they're going to execute people publicly who don't agree with them. One side has lost its frickin' mind. And so that I want to be clear about that as well.